Hi, in this video lecture I want to talk about conclusions for paper number 2. We've got two criteria to look at. The first is evaluating whether the dream career you've researched would make you happy and explaining why or why not. And the second goal for our conclusion is to discuss what you've learned about your career interests and goals through this process. These are two separate ideas that could very easily mean that you need to have two separate paragraphs. I think, in fact, in most cases that will be true, although I could imagine a scenario where if your dream career is your actual career goal, you could combine them into one paragraph. So let's look at a sample paragraph for each goal. So goal 1, evaluation, would the dream career make you happy? Here's a sample response that I think does a pretty good job of exploring that question. I'm not going to read the sample response. I'd like you to stop the video and take a few minutes to read it yourself. And when you start the video again, I'll try to point out some of the things that I think make this work. One of the things that I think is particularly good about this example is how it lays out two specific reasons that this job would make the person happy. I also like how there's an although phrase clause early in the sentence, so the writer is sort of exploring some of the reasons maybe he or she wouldn't want to do it, and then getting into first, I want to help specific families. Secondly, I want to deal with systemic injustice. So I think this really works nicely because not only are the two reasons presented, the two reasons the job would make someone happy presented, but they're also fully explained. And so this is a fully developed paragraph, which means that for this writer to answer goal 2 would take a separate paragraph, because goal 1 about why the job would make them happy requires its own space for this version. And for goal 2, you're moving to a different kind of question, which is, how's the research shaped your thinking about careers and your career goals? And as I said before, that usually is going to need its own paragraph. So again, I'm going to ask you to pause the video for a second and read this second conclusion paragraph. Yes, conclusions can be 2 paragraphs long, and see what you can see in there in terms of meeting our objectives. So I think this is also solid, and I've seen students take a lot of different approaches to this question as they talk about their career goals and thinking, and often it's a mixed bag. They learned some things that were exciting and interesting, other things that they were uncomfortable with or concerned about. So I like how this paragraph starts with an although dependent clause, setting up some contrast to remind us that these are tough things to think about and decisions to make. I also like the practicality of this approach, that the student articulates a plan. So I've done this research, this sounds like a really cool job, what am I going to do now? Where do I go from here? And laying out some steps for a relatively short-term plan that could then turn into a longer and or larger decision. So I think we have here 2 sample paragraphs that show that we're really looking at 2 different ideas, evaluating whether the dream career would make us happy, and then thinking about how our career goals have been reshaped by this. For that career goals element, that second element of the conclusion, you might want to think about short and long-term goals. And those could be 2 separate paragraphs, but thinking short and long-term may help you flesh out what you do with your conclusion paragraphs. I hope these ideas about conclusions help you. I would encourage you to stop this video or use the PowerPoint version of this video so that you can look a little bit more closely at those sample paragraphs. Thanks.